In my short time of service as a music director, I have seen wonderful singers, I have seen great singers, I have seen wonderful music directors. Oh, and I've seen them, I have seen them a lot, all right, including musicians, wonderful musicians. I have seen a lot of them. And one thing I have found out is that some of these people do not have the knowledge of the Solfa notation, probably because the way they learned the music, the way they learned how to play their instrument, or the way they learned how to sing is not correct. Some learned by themselves. Okay, so and by virtue of learning by yourself, there are some details you will miss, which is very normal. Some are just functioning with the gift. When you are functioning with the gift, you will not really mind anything because you can sing, because you can play, everything is going well. But however, I think that worthy of knowledge is the Solfa notation, and that's the basics of everything. That's the basics of music. Every song is standing on Solfa notation. Every scale is standing on Solfa notation. Chromatic scale, major scales, pentatonic scales, minor scales, and every other scale that you can think of, they are all standing on the Solfa notation. So I thought about bringing up something that can help us to learn the basics of the Solfa notation, just the basics, just the basics. And it's for those who really want to learn this. You know deep down your heart that you are a musician, you are a singer, and you need the knowledge of the Solfa notation for you to move to the next level, to move to a higher height. Now, let me just say to you that most of these music people, most of the great musicians, great singers that you see in the world today, this is what they know. I'm telling you, they know the Solfa notation and they know how to run their scales. They know how to do all these things. So I just felt I should give you a little bit of training. Another thing that you need to know is that it is not just about knowing it. If I ask now, call the Solfa notation, most people will say it is do re mi fa sol la ti do. But you see, when you say do re mi fa sol la ti do, it does not really make sense. You will not know it like that. How you will be able to know it is when you are able to sing it intentionally, and also when you know what each note should sound like. That is the intentional way to know it. So when you hear do, you should be able to identify do, you should be able to identify so, you should be able to identify ti. However, on whichever key, however it is played, when you are able to identify them, then we can now say you have learned the basics. Not because you know how to say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. No, that's not it. And you can identify them by ear training. By ear training is also called oral skills, AURAL skills. All right, that is the training of the ear to identify music, to identify notes. So I'm here with the keyboard. I will run through the Solfa notation just to teach us one or two things. And maybe at the end of this class, I may likely give us an assignment that we need to submit. And then when I see your submission, I would know what next to do, if we are to have a live class or we should continue this session again. So you want to learn the Solfa notation. Here I am to put you through on the basics of it. Now let's be on the key of C. Like I said, it is not just to be able to say it, it's for you to intentionally sing it and to identify each note when they are played. That is the way you can know it. So on the key of C, we have it to be, this is do, this is re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now, if this is the basics, but we must be able to identify these notes by ear. And the way you can do it is to do this thing over and over again until you are able to identify the notes, until you know how each note should sound. So I'll take it again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. It is the same thing in any key you play on. The Solfa notation, the major scale, is the same thing. All scales are the same thing on any key you play on. I'll take the key of F sharp and play it for you, so you see that it is the same thing. Now, this is the key of F sharp. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. You see, it's the same thing. C sharp. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So it is the same thing. It takes practice for you to be able to master them and be able to identify the notes in your ear. So the next step I want to take you through is to play a note, and then you will identify that note. Are we together? I'll play a note and you will identify that note. I'm on the key of C, all right? And this is the key of C. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So I ask you, what is this note on the key of C? Take some time. I will advise you not to look at my finger, not to look at the keyboard. Use your ears if you can. Kindly close your eyes and identify these notes. You are helping yourself to learn the Solfa notation. Again, how do you understand? How do you know these notes? When you hear notes like this, what you should do is to run the scale again in your mind for beginners. All right? For people who already know it, they don't need to run it again. But for beginners, you will need to run it over and over again for you to be able to identify that note. Now, I'll take it again, just for example. Now, this is the note we're looking out for. So, you have to look for the resemblance when you run the scale again. I'll run the scale for you now. So, it is. You see? And this is what we're looking for. So, you start looking, you start comparing note for note. This and this is do. It doesn't sound alike. All right? This is re. It doesn't sound alike. And then this is mi. It doesn't sound alike. This is not what we're looking for. But you notice that when you come to the note fa, it is the same thing as what you are looking out for. All right? So fa is the right answer. Fa is the right answer. Let's take another example. Basically simple. Very simple. Very simple. For beginners, you will have to run the scale again. All right? And then you start comparing notes for notes. We are looking for this note. And this, which is the do, doesn't sound like it. You see the difference? You see? You see? Doesn't sound alike. And then, so you see? So what we are looking for is the note so. Now, I'm going to give you two assignments. No, let me not call it assignment. Classwork. You're going to do it for me right now. You submit the answer, and then there will be assignment. All right. So I'm going to hit the first note, and I want you to identify the note. I'll give you a space of 2-3 seconds to do that. Are we ready? Are we ready? All right. Like I said, do not look at my fingers. Use your ears. If you were able to identify the notes, congratulations. But kindly put it on the comment section. Let me see that you were able to identify the notes. Second one is this. Don't forget, we are on the key of C. Identify these notes. Let me just add a third one. Now, you notice the difference, all right? If you were able to identify the notes, congratulations. This is just the beginning, all right? There are several other things to do. And after this, the assignment I'm going to do, it will take us a bit further, okay? Now, taking us a bit further, it means that we have to now do 2 notes, 3 notes, all right? Before we cannot do a song, before we cannot start talking about a song, okay? So you have been able to identify one note. Congratulations.